What's going on, guys? Sekapoko here, bringing you another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. For this, we'll be going over the top 10 subs for version 2 Sanji in the entire game. I'm going to be going over all the subs that I find to be the best on version 2 Sanji after playing the unit for a while, and all the units that I really think bring out a special ability. And there are some units that have just been released that I really want, for my V2 Sanji teams, and I'm really sad that I don't have them, but it is what it is. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and talk about V2 Sanji as a captain, and we're not going to talk about him as a sub this video, we're just going to talk about him as a captain, because as a sub, you could, but why bother? Anyways, he's going to be a fire powerhouse unit. Of course, he's going to have 1520 attack at max attack, and then when you get max limit broken, he goes up to 1775 attack, which is extremely high, and then 1975 attack at max limit break and max candies. Arguably one of the highest damaging captains in the entire game, but V2 Sanji does have a lot of problems, and on a lot of my tier list videos and a lot of other videos, people have been saying I'm underrating V2 Sanji. People are telling me that I'm using him not enough, so I don't know about him. So let's go ahead and talk about V2 Sanji a little bit, and we'll talk first off on this captain ability. Now, V2 Sanji is conditional on two separate factors, and one of them isn't his captain ability. The other one isn't his special ability. The first thing as a captain ability is if there are 6 fighters in your crew, boost the chain multiplier of your crew, and then boost the attack multiplier of your fighters by 1.75. Overall, the attack boost at the start is a 1x multiplier, or 1.75 times a 1.75 multiplier, which is like nothing. So you do almost no damage on the first hit. Then it scales very, very quickly, and your last hit is monstrous, and your overall damage is very high. Now, the underlying weakness of this captain ability is if there are 6 units on the stage, you're going to have trouble killing all 6 units because the first unit usually will not take any damage, and so on. So the captain itself is a slower captain because of that. Now, it may be able to do somewhere between 2.5 to 3.5 million damage per turn on any given turn, and someone said they've seen up to 4 million without specials, and I'm like, yeah, that could probably happen if you're fighting one target. But on other stages, you're probably not going to see that. And the thing about Sanji is that he's not a fast captain, he's a slower captain because of that. If you're running speedrunning content, he's not that fast. Even though his cooldown is 12 turns, if you're trying to clear speedrun content, like run a Fortnite or run event islands, etc., and try to speedrun those, it's actually a little bit slower because you have to take multiple turns to clear the 6 unit stages. So as far as a fast legend, he's not really a fast legend for speed farming competent, but he's actually a great legend for like Colosseums and raids. But I'll go over some of his major weaknesses. Now, of course, you don't see an HP boost. That's not really going to be a big factor. But the big problem with Sanji is his special ability and how it's conditional, as well as how the other conditional part of his captain ability is based on your HP. So most people gloss over this fact and they completely miss out on this part. The second part of his captain ability says lowers the chance of getting matching orbs proportionally to the crew's HP. Now, what I've seen is a significant decrease in matching orbs. And with fighter teams, you do have a lot of units that have beneficial orb enable, like limited rare recruit koala, Pecoms, etc. But you're not using those on every single team, and you're not getting those matching orbs all the time. And with what I've seen on V2 Sanji teams is when my HP gets low or below 50% HP, I'm seeing a massive drop in orb rate. Like, I can't even get matching orbs to save my life. It's actually like ridiculously bad. And it starts to feel like really, really annoying. I mean, your last 2 hits in your chain are really strong, but your first 4 hits are like negligible. So it like really decreases your damage, and you really feel the impact and the loss of damage. So that's one of the things that he's conditional on. The second thing is when we go into his special ability, the way a special ability works is deals 150 times attack and side damage to one enemy. If HP is above 50% at the time the special is activated, then you can get a 2.25 times attack boost. And then on top of that, there's another condition. Sanji has to be your friend or captain or guest captain, and you'll get a 10-turn chain multiplier limit and chain coefficient limit reduction. So it completely removes almost every chain multiplier limit and chain coefficient limit in the game, unless they're like 99 turns. And that does happen. The 99 turn ones have been coming in a little bit more frequently lately, so we've been seeing those. But about 90% of the chain locks and chain limits in the game are within a good limit. So what I find to be the most annoying thing on V2 Sanji is having my HP below 50%. And that actually happens a lot more often than you would think. One of the things that happens early on, of course, in a Coliseum or like in a raid, is if you have to take damage early on, and there's like you're taking small amounts of hits here and there, and you're taking hits from turtles, just like small little bits of damage, and then a boss has like a 50% HP cut, you're now below 50% HP. So now when you want to pop your special, you can't even pop your special because the boss had a 50% HP cut, and you're stuck below 50% HP, so now you can't get that damage boost, plus you've lost all your matching orb effects because now you're getting like no matching orbs for the rest of the place. So you really feel the impact. So those are the two major hindrances of Sanji. Having lower HP is extremely bad, and not being able to clear an entire stage of 6 units, so fighting multiple enemies is actually a little bit tougher. So if there's a boss stage with 3 enemies, that becomes a little bit tougher. Now this, in no way Sanji's a bad unit, in no way do I think he's bad. I definitely think he's in the top 10 legends in the game, and my tier list reflects that. I show that he's in the top 10 legends of the game. But he does suffer from these kinds of mechanics, and we knew that this was going to be the case from the second he's been released, and it's still happening. So it's not like he's not going to be able to clear content. He's going to clear lots of content, but he does have weaknesses, and as long as you know what those weaknesses are, what you have to do is find ways to prevent those weaknesses from happening. So what we're going to go over today is going to be the top 10 subs that really shore up Sanji's weaknesses, and then we also accentuate his strengths. So I'm going to be going over the top 10 subs that we have for Sanji here, and hope you guys enjoy. So let's start at number 10. This is actually an awkward choice. I had a lot of units that I could have put in this number 10 slot, but surprisingly, the one that most spoke to me was Treasure Mode Inarashimi, and it's a weird choice. I know. I don't understand, but there's lots of orb boosters that you can use. There's so many type boosters. You don't need type boosters because V2 Sanji. Orb Manipulate's kind of a big thing, but the thing is, Treasure Mode Inarashi is also an orb booster, but he's the only one that actually provides something else, and you don't really need him as an orb booster anyways, but like the other thing he provides is really helpful. So TM Inarashi, first off, will reduce silence on himself by 3 turns, and then reduce his special ability, reduces silence by 4 turns, reduces threshold duration by 3 turns, and then if you're on a treasure map, amplifies orb effects. The thing that's really helpful is removing the silence. Super nice. There's another unit that's like really top tier on this list that I really wanted to make the best unit on there, and that unit also removes silence, but the thing is, the threshold damage removal from this is actually extremely helpful. 2 abilities that really just counteract all kinds of damage teams can do are paralysis and threshold damage removal. Or damage reduction, and those 2 really hinder like almost all damage that you could possibly do to a team. So one of the things I really want to put on this tier list is like have a unit that actually removes threshold but does something else. And the thing is, the other threshold reduction characters that you can use are I think it was Beppo, Peckums, and no, not Peckums, Beppo and like Bellamy, and there's some other ones, but there's not a ton of threshold removers, and that's actually a big problem for damage when you talk about any team, right? So you need to have a good character that does that, and this is a great unit to have in your team because he also removes silence, so you never have to deal with that. And the thing is, since he removes his silence as well as threshold reduction, that's if your whole team got silence, you don't even have to pop a damaging ability after that because V2 Sanji does enough damage to get around that. But if you are on like a treasure mode, which does happen maybe out of 30% of fights that we're going to be talking about, because there's really only going to be raids, coliseums, and then now the treasure mode bosses. For global, this is going to be a booster for many months to come. All right, so the next best unit on the list is going to be Chobro, and Chobro is mainly here because he can proc a defense down conditional. Of course, he removes the threshold damage reduction by 5 turns, which is also extremely good. So Chobro, of course, is better than Treasure Mode Inarashi for more situations than not. And he also is going to make int orb beneficial for fighters, which is extremely helpful for Sanji teams because of that. And he also has a very short cooldown for V2 Sanji teams. So I really like him for V2 Sanji teams when I do use him. He's one of the most used units on V2 Sanji teams that I have. So definitely a great unit. Next unit is going to be Psy Carrot, and Psy Carrot, of course, is another fighter, and she is going to max out, of course, at 12 turns, just like Chobro, but of course Chobro has that, cooldown reduction, so he's going to be a really nice unit for that. She has a nice added addition, of course, reducing paralysis completely on herself, so you don't have to worry about that. But she also reduces paralysis and despair, which can really lock up your teams. So it's a very good unit to have on your team because you're going to have now with Chobro and Carrot together, you get the conditional boost as well as removing a lot of different utility problems that you do have. Of course, you're also going to delay the enemies for 1 turn if you do need to, which can also pair with Kami, but unfortunately, it does the boost attack against delayed increased defense by 1.75 1 turn, so you cannot get that boost from Kami. So you can't pop either, in course, to pair them together, which would be a really cool thing if you could, but unfortunately that's just not the way Kami works. But she's a great unit overall. So as far as increased damage to reduce defense characters or conditional, this is the only real unit that you can use as far as conditionals go for fighters for increased defense damage. So that's kind of annoying, but it is what it is. That's why Carrot made the list, and that's why Chobo made the list, because those are the best 2 characters to reduce defense on your team. The only other characters that you can really use with Carrot would be like Invasion Garp, and you could use it that potentially, but it's really, otherwise it's tough to get increased defense, decreased defense conditional. So Carrot makes the list at number 8. The next unit in the list is going to be Raid Lucci, and the main reason Raid Lucci is making the list here is because most times when you are using Sanji, you are going to have that single target on the field. So for Sanji, the next character we're going to have is going to be Rob Lucci Raid. And Rob Lucci Raid is going to be a great unit because Rob Lucci Raid is a self-proccing conditional character that's going to delay the enemy as well as give increased effect against delayed enemies for 1.75 for 1 turn. A very good unit to have, of course, on 13 turns, so there's massive damage there. And of course, the nice thing he also brings to the table is he's going to give a Sailor that's going to boost your entire crew's damage by 100. So that's actually really, really strong. On most of your subs on your team, that's probably like a 7% damage increase. On Sanji, that's like a 5% damage increase. So somewhere between 5 and 7% is really where you're going to see the damage increase for every unit on a team. Overall, that's a good increase as far as a passive increase to your entire team. The next unit we're going to be talking about is going to be Kami. And Kami is going to be one of the best units for Sanji teams. She's just came out with the Jinbei badge. She's actually a very, very strong unit. And what I like about her a lot is that she does a lot of different things. First off, she has a Sailor ability that's going to reduce paralysis on herself by 2 turns. Not super helpful. But the silence duration on herself by 2 turns, that's pretty helpful. So a lot of times it's more than 2 turns for silence, but there are other Sailor abilities in the game that remove silence, so maybe it will be helpful here, but we'll see. Okay, so what Kami does is she's going to reduce paralysis and silence on your entire team, as well as increased damageation and burn damage by 2 turns. If the enemy is delayed, boost the attack against delayed enemies by 1.75, and then otherwise it's going to delay all enemies by 1 turn. So she's a double special character. Kind of nice, not gonna lie, kind of nice. So Kami is going to reduce 4 turns of burn damage in your crew if you use her twice in 1 turn, which you are going to do if you max out her double special. Of course, unfortunately, you do need a lot of Kamis for that to happen, but we're talking top 10 subs. We got to talk about like the maxed out version of those subs, right? So obviously, you're going to be wanting to use other characters to remove all these things, and you're going to use Raid Lucci until your Kami is fully limit broken. Otherwise, Kami's not very good. The problem with these double special units is that they have to be max limit broken and fully rainbowed for them to be the potential that they're supposed to be at, and you can't really use them otherwise, which really blows. I really wish that wasn't the case, but it is. It sucks. But it is what it is. So, fully limit broken and rainbow, this character is awesome, but otherwise, I don't know. And when I'm talking about these characters, I kind of got to be fair and talk about that, but Kami does not make the list if you don't have her rainbowed, really, but if she is rainbowed, then she definitely makes the list. So just know the only way to get that double special is if she's rainbowed, and then she goes down to 11 turns. Of course, you get the once per adventure, you get the max special if you have the limit person here. And she has pinch healing, which is great for V2 Sanji. If you're below 30%, you get 1.5 times recovery, and she has a sizable amount of recovery, so you're getting like 750 healing per pinch heal, which is awesome. So you're getting a lot of healing from this Kami, a decent amount of damage on her. So overall, great unit for your V2 Sanji teams, but only really if she's rainbowed. Otherwise, I don't know. All right, and then the next character is that we're gonna go over, which is a weird choice in my opinion, but it's just how it is. What would have been here would be version 1 Marco, but I'm gonna put Limit Kubani because I think Limit Kubani is actually better for this situation. So, big problem with Sanji is your HP, if it's ever reduced, you are doo-doo. And you can't use Sanji special at all. So, the reason Limited Rare Kubani is here is because she heals, and then she also does other things. So, of course, Limited Rare Kubani reduces silence on herself by 3 turns, which is not going to be super helpful for your V2 Sanji teams, but she does make recovery beneficial for all characters, which is going to be great for your V2 Sanji teams because there's most of the characters that do that are other characters. So, I mean, at this point, if you're bringing Chobro and you're bringing Bonnie, that's int and recovery beneficial on your team, so that's okay, I guess. Not perfect, but at least you have 2 beneficial orbs there, so that's good. Another thing that happens on these teams is, of course, you're going to get, if it's on a 5 turn, you're going to reduce Bind and Paralysis by 3 turns, and then change Block and Bomb Orbs into Recovery Orbs. So if you do have Block Orbs, this is a great Block Orb manipulator into Recovery Orbs, and it really bypasses most of the recovery, most of the negative beneficial orb enables in the game that just do negative beneficial color orbs. So this counters that mechanic as well. And of course, if you are below 50% HP, you are going to be able to heal up to full because Limited Rare Kubani heals for 50 times recovery. So you get a full heal on this character, which is pretty darn great. And you will not get the recovery down, silence, and blindness removal because your captain is not a free spirit character. However, you do get the heal, the bind removal, the paralysis removal, and of course any block orb or bomb orb into matching orb manipulate, but it's into recovery orb, so it's even better. So there's a lot of things about Limited Rare Kubani that are really good. And if you don't believe me why Limited Rare Kubani is a top tier sub on these teams, is because if you ever get below 50% HP on a V2 Sanji team, V2 Sanji special is completely useless, which does happen quite frequently. Hitting up that number 4 spot on the list, we're gonna have Zeph. And Zeph, yeah, he's awesome. So he does a couple things, which I like. Okay, so the first thing that Zeph does is when any other character uses a special, you actually get rewound on your specials by 3 turns, which is great. So you can actually use Zeph early on in a fight, and then you can use him again if you do the rewinds just correctly. So on like a stage 4, if you pop Zeph right away, and you have to pop like other characters to like reduce special, reduce like the threshold damage removal or get rid of some other mechanics. This is a great character for that because you get the color affinity boost and you can use it again in the final room, which is awesome. The second limit break ability you get is he actually gets increased damage to Dex characters. So when you're using Zeph against Dex characters, you get a phenomenal boost. So you get that 1.2 times boost as well as all the other boosts on top. And this is a passive boost, so you get a nice boost as a color affinity unit. His special ability, of course, is going to boost if your captain is a fighter, boost color affinity of all fighter characters by 1.75 for 1 turn. And then you get increased damage on those characters for color affinity. And color affinity becoming more and more and more useful as time goes on. And then that thing is, with Sanji teams, of course, they are rainbow, so you can have a lot of units that you can use color affinity on your teams. And the really nice thing about Zeph is he's 8 turns. So really, if you use 2 specials after you've used the special for Zeph, if you go into the following room because of the preemptive, your special is maxed and it's up. So you have it up right away. And that is a phenomenal, phenomenal unit to have for 2 turns, basically, of color affinity. So that is a great, great unit to have in your team. Hitting up that number 3 spot on the list, we're going to have 6+ Jinbei. And 6+ Jinbei is probably one of the better units to have for fighter teams. So his limit breaks are not very helpful, except for that special rewind when he is a sailor. So if your special is rewound, it completely restores the special when rewound, so that's great. Other thing is that he's maxing out 11 turns, so he's a really fast unit to have in your team. If you don't know what he does 60 times attack and wave clear to all enemies. And of course, is going to change all orbs on fighters into matching orbs. Unfortunately, he does not change block orbs, but of course you have Limited Rare Kubani, you have a lot of other characters that do that, like Limited Rare Kubolo, etc. So there's lots of units that do change off block orbs, so you are able to get matching orbs on everything. And then in addition to that, we're of course going to get percent damage reduction as well as increased defense duration removal by 5 turns. And the other thing that V2 Sanji can suffer from is percent damage reduction, and Jinbei is definitely the best percent damage remover in the entire game that you can use for fighter teams. I think there's not too many other characters in the game that that actually remove that. So just know that Jinbei is a great unit for fighter teams because of that. You also get extra damage reduction, like Cyan damage reduction and Ink damage reduction on top of that, so that's great. And of course, some slot bind self reduction, but that doesn't really matter. So lots of things you get with this 6+ Jinbei for your fighter teams. And the next unit that's going to be coming out here for the number 2 spot for fighter teams is going to be Chiffon. And this is the brand new unit that just came out to the Japanese version. She is an amazing, amazing unit. Chiffon is super, super strong. If you don't know what she is going to, of course, reduce silence on herself by 3 turns. And then her second sailor ability, when HP is 99% or above at the start of turn, boosts the attack of shooters characters by 75, which does not matter at all because we're talking about fighters. So why is Chiffon good for fighters? Well, first off, she is a fighter. And the second is that on 10 turns, or 9 turns after the limit break, it's going to reduce paralysis, silence, despair, and attack down by 1 turn, and recover 3 times recovered at the end of your turn for 3 turns, which doesn't sound great, but it happens sometimes where you need to remove all those things just really quickly. And the second one, which is at 16 turns, reduces paralysis, despair, silence, attack down, all 4 of the big ones, by 3 turns. Recover 10 times recovery at the end of every turn, which is basically a 5k heal. That's awesome. With 6k when you get a plus 100 candy. So that's 6,000 every single turn, which is awesome. So you get like a great healer on your Sanji teams. Plus, here's the caveat at the very end. If your team has threshold damage reduction, percent damage reduction, or resilience, which by the way I was looking up and there's not a lot of characters that provide those things. I mean, there's Kobe, right? And a couple other characters, and then for percent damage reduction and like damage cap, there's not a ton. I don't even consider bringing V1 Gear 4 Luffy, but like one of the things that you could use, which is really weird, and I thought was an interesting unit to pair with Chiffon, was Tank Man, and Raid Tank Man pairs perfectly with Chiffon because your captain is Sai with V2 Sanji, right? And then you have Chiffon, which needs a percent damage reduction, threshold damage reduction, resilience to get a full heal. So if you do Tank Man on your team, which is a fighter, with Chiffon, you get full heal, damage, and full damage for 1 turn, which is kind of cool. This is kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, that's all pretty cool. I don't know the situation to do that, and the problem with Tank Man, of course, he triggers way too many fucking interrupts. But yeah, it's pretty cool. The only other thing you're missing is Orb Manipulate. Otherwise, this would be like a perfect pairing. I think that the 2 characters that would perfectly pair with Chiffon would be somebody that does some kind of Orb Manipulate or Orb Beneficial Enable, and a damage reduction or threshold something, or like something to that effect. Those would be 2 characters that would pair perfectly with Chiffon, like character that would perfectly with Chiffon, so you get that perfect damage boost and full heal. And the nice thing about Chiffon, which is really great, if you do get HP cut in the final room and you're using Chiffon on turn 4, the heal per turn will actually carry into the final room to heal you on the final turn, so you actually get that extra healing in. So that's really nice. I really like Chiffon for that. It really helps you out for those Sanji teams. So if you get that 50% HP cut, you're at much higher HP value. If you get like a 30% or 70% HP cut, you might have enough HP. So it's a really, really nice character to have for a lot of situations for Sanji teams. So what I recommend is if you're going to be using Chiffon, obviously you're going to want to have a lower HP team for V2 Sanji, because then it would help you get above 50% a lot easier. Definitely a great unit to have for your Sanji team's number 2 spot. Well earned. And of course, the number 1 spot is going to go to that limited rare recruit Koala, because she is Sanji's best friend. And Sanji's best friend is going to be an Orb Manipulator plus Orb Booster, which is great. So if you don't know what limited rare recruit Koala does, of course, she is going to deal 20 times attack and quick damage to all enemies. And then if enemies have any kind of debuff protection or delay buff protection at the time special is activated, she's going to then amplify orb effects of all fighters by 2 times and shuffle all orbs, including block orbs, into matching orbs, giving you basically Coliseum Nekomamushi for fighters. So this is a great unit to have for your fighter teams. Full board Orb Manipulate as well as Orb Boost for your Sanji team. So that's really what Sanji needs, because Sanji is just a straight up type booster. Nothing really else on his captain ability for any kind of damaging mechanics. So really, really helpful unit overall. I really like this as a pairing, but there are a lot of units I didn't mention. So for V2 Sanji, there are a lot of characters that could have made the list here, but did not. So we're going to go over those. We have Tamago as a full board Orb Manipulator, including block orbs. So if you didn't have a limited rare recruit Koala, that is another character that you can use, but you still need that Orb Booster. But Tamago is not conditional on the character being delay immune or something like that. But of course, we always have Jinbei, and we have limited rare recruit Bonnie. So there are other characters that you can use in those spots. So that's why I didn't make the list. Then we got Robin, Really good unit for Jinbei teams for death hits. You don't need them. Oh, not Jinbei teams. Sanji teams for death hits. Strength Marco, same thing. Of course, you get that bind removal, which is really nice. But 90% damage reduction is not always needed. You might need a little bit more damage reduction, so not really helpful. And you're not going to fit 3 strength characters onto Jinbei teams too. Oh, not Jinbei. 6+. What's it saying? V2 Sanji teams too often. So Strength Marco did not make the cut. Invasion Garp. Not the best unit, but you could make the list. V1 Marco, obviously, a better unit would be Limited Rare Bonnie. Raid Bellamy and Raid Sabo. Raid Sabo would probably be in the top 5 units that should have made the list. But otherwise, not so much. 6+ Rayleigh, a good unit. Really good for Bind and Despair removal as well as, I think, Paralysis removal. But you typically don't need 7 turns of removal. That happens once a blue moon. Then we got Invasion Sengoku. Didn't really make the list. Not going to have the same color orb too often. That's with Carrot. Didn't really make the cut. Then we got Peccoms. Which is a full 100% defense increased if removal, but he does that int or beneficial enable for fighters, but Chobro is better for that. And you don't really need 100% increased defense removal too often, but it does happen sometimes. So, I mean, he's there, he's just not perfect, Then we got V1 Gear 4, which was probably in the top 5 units that should have made the list. Having that beneficial orb enable for 3 turns is nice, but if you go beyond that, of course, he's bound, and that's really bad to have for your Sanji teams to have 5 units instead of 6, because that really hinders your damage. Then we got Dex Lucci, really non-conditional orb booster, cuts HP, nice unit to have on fighter teams. Of course, he gives tap timing bonus as well as a sailor, so that helps out a little bit for Sanji teams for the first hit, so that may be a really good unit to bring. Maybe in the top 6 or 7 units to bring. That did make the list. Then we got Beppo, a threshold damage remover. Then we got Hina, a color affinity booster. Obviously, Zeph is much better for more situations. And then we got Sengoku. We will have 3 units on your team that are quick and Sai if you add Sengoku to the team. So that is a great unit to bring for an orb booster, as well as bringing like attack down removal and despair removal. I think that's what he does, but not too often do you need to bring that, but it is a unit that you could bring if you did need it, and definitely probably in the top 5 or 6 units that you would bring. Then we got Coliseum Ideo, a non-conditional orb booster for fighters, but of course he gives that increased defense, increased damage taken debuff, which is kind of bad. And of course Tankman, only problem with Tankman is that he does, since he pops every boost in the game, he can trigger interrupts that you don't want to trigger, so that can be a negative rather than a positive. So there are a lot of other units that could have made this list, like these units here, but I'm not really thinking that any of these units really deserve to be in the top 10, but definitely in the top like 20 or 25 or whatever it may be. I didn't actually count. But let me know you guys what thought about the list. Let me know what fighters you like using for your V2 Sanji teams and what the best units for those are. All right, guys. Well, my name's Sekapoko. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did like this top 10 list for subs for version 2 Sanji kind of video, and of course, you guys like the one for Luffy Ace, let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the description down below. If you guys want to support the channel, of course, hit the subscribe button if you do like the content. You want to learn more. If you guys are a newer player, of course, I have lots of videos for you guys in the Discord link in the description below. And if you guys want to check the last couple of videos, they're right over there. You guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.